Every summer it's the same. Images of confrontation between police and travellers. Last March, the government announced measures to change this by giving police more power and travellers fewer rights. But in today's Queen's speech, the new laws weren't mentioned, leaving police and travellers to battle on. Among those worrying about the confrontations are the parents of travellers, apprehensively watching the news reports at home. Until today, it seemed that the summer of '93 would be the last in which the current state of confusion would prevail. This film is the story of that summer, from the point of view of the parents as well as those who took part.
Here, a 20-mile-long stretch of the M5 motorway in 2 counties was closed today after a confrontation between police and New Age travellers near Gloucester. There were clashes as convoys of up to 8 vehicles brought roads packed with holiday traffic to a halt. Police are trying to prevent...
One time when he was up in Dorset, there was a post office that he'd go and pick up things from the post office, but now I can't contact him at all, really. I always get very worried whenever there's a confrontation like on the motorway. I sort of scan the news coverage with desperate worry, because just looking to see if I can see him and if he's in trouble. That is frightening.
Friday, June 25th, the first day of the Glastonbury Festival, and a day the police have been planning for months. Despite tickets costing £58 a head, the event draws crowds from across the country, and with the crowds come the police.
Good afternoon, welcome to the Glastonbury Festival, Hilton Festival. There's about 100,000 people on site at the moment. They're all enjoying themselves, listening to their type of music. We've got almost the size of Bath, and you're going to be their community policeman.
Among those wishing to attend are travellers. In the past, convoys arriving without tickets have caused chaos and eventually been allowed in. This year, the police are determined to prevent them from reaching the site.
Observations for an ex-ambulance type vehicle, make unknown, colour red and cream, Tango Yankee Lima 441 November. Vehicle in Bristol may be coming in this direction. Zulu.
Yes, we're still making inquiries in relation to the one in Chester.
In the temporary radio control room in Shepton Mallet, they're monitoring all travellers' movements in the area using roving police patrols and helicopter surveillance. So far, no convoys have reached the festival, but the police are now holding about 40 vehicles in a lay-by at Boroughbridge, 15 miles from Glastonbury.
555.
Yes, good afternoon to you. We're on 10-1.
You didn't do any to the Yankee Hotel Golf 447 Victor Sheffield?
It's road traffic regulations that allow the police to prevent this convoy from moving. But now the government is proposing to give police a range of specific powers to control travellers' movements. Under the new laws, it will also become a crime to stay overnight within the boundaries of a highway, as they are here, or camp on common land or any occupied land without the landowner's consent. If the laws go through, many travellers will be legal only so long as they are moving, and then only if they're not travelling in convoy.
The Chief Constable David Shattuck, all the tickets for this year's Glastonbury Festival have been sold, and under no circumstances will we accept anyone else on the site. This obviously includes any travellers who might be in the vicinity and are not in any position to negotiate access to anyone. Signed, Michael Eavis. We live hand to mouth, we're evicted all the time, we've got no money, we haven't got 2 pence to scrape between us, and we're supposed to go and buy tickets in advance. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. We had no chance from the beginning, like.
Here we are. Bus wars in Bath, the big operators accused of foul play.
You tell Don.
From little triplets to mighty apes, munching their way through the forest peace. Hello, good evening. 100 travellers in a 40-vehicle convoy are blockaded in a Somerset lay-by tonight. Police in riot gear have held them there for nearly 24 hours. Officers refused to allow the convoy to move for fear to head to the Pilton Festival. But the police praised general standards of behaviour. Michael Edis put it down to his decision to ban members of the Travellers' convoy.
We had to keep them out. We came out last year, as you know, very successfully, and it was so much better last year. And this year it's better again. I mean, it's unbelievable, the difference by keeping them out.
Well, I'm joined now by the man who's in overall command of the police operation at Pilton and Boroughbridge, Chief Superintendent Tony Jones. Mr. Jones, why has it come to riot gear and the standoff in the lay-by? They were travelling in convoy, and we sought to stop that convoy and split them into small numbers. They blocked all of the carriageways on that road, the A361, and it was necessary then to attempt to make arrests and attempt to remove the vehicles.
But what's going to happen now, do you think?
They can move whenever they wish to move. There is no problem as far as they're moving off that lay-by. They've chosen to stay there.
What? Do you think that Pilton is the problem? Is the Pilton a magnet for travel?
That was a blatant out-and-out lie. There were two vans shunted right up against the front of our convoy. They won't let us go anywhere. They specifically said they're not going to let us go anywhere. And he's just said we're free to go anywhere we want. It's just like, it's a public relations exercise on one side, truth on the other side. And we're always the victims.
Do you want to go up the other end now?
Two days later, the travellers had all moved on, allowed to leave vehicle by vehicle at intervals of 15 minutes.
I don't think it's good for any children to see scenes of confrontation and violence going on.
Steve Staines' son and grandchild are travellers. Earlier this summer, he set up a support group for parents of travellers concerned about the effects the reforms will have on their children.
I didn't know anyone else whose children were on the road. It's a big hurdle to overcome, the fact that they've chosen a lifestyle which is not like your own. And it's difficult as well when you see the images coming over the media and you think, well, maybe my child's involved in that or my granddaughter's involved in that. And whereas it's not the case, but even so, it does make you feel quite isolated and quite worried.
In fact, Steve's son and family are among the few travellers who've actually got into the festival. They'll be running craft workshops for festival goers.
There's such a small number of actual legal events that people can go to. I mean, there's this and the Forest Fair, really. I mean, they really don't want travellers to be here. You know, it's about the only real chance in the year to be able to actually make a bit of money selling things. I mean, the free festival thing just doesn't happen anymore, so it's very difficult to be able to make a living.
Scuddy and his partner Irene can sometimes support themselves by selling jewellery, but most of the time they're on benefit. They've been travelling in their bus for years, so they're used to being viewed as an oddity.
We had some young lads coming here, didn't we, when we were in one place, and they went, wow, you don't live on orange boxes, and you've got HP sauce and baked beans, and gosh, and you've got somewhere to wash, you know.
I think people think we are very, very strange, but we're really normal.
We are.
It's quite boring.
Vehicles from the convoy thwarted at the weekend are now dotted around the county. Here at
Liz Middleton's son is a traveller and she has no way of contacting him. She watches news reports fearing he's involved. She's against the government's plans, although she is a loyal Tory who's campaigned for her local MP Paul Marland for years.
Events that were raised at Prime Minister's question time by one of the county's MPs.
They call themselves New Age travellers. In Gloucestershire, Madam Speaker, they're known as New Age vermin.
While people can make that kind of sweeping statement without knowing who they're talking about, there are plenty of people who are dole scroungers all over this country. They don't have to be New Age travellers. And there are plenty of people causing trouble. And there are plenty of good uses for the police force, rather than standing around trying to keep people who are not intending to break the law anyway. I find it wasteful and I find it pathetic. And it's shame-making, really.
Over the summer, the police are trying a nationally coordinated approach to controlling travellers, rather than just attempting to keep them out of their own patch.
Yeah, no intelligence at this stage with regard to a location.
The new National Intelligence Centre at Devizes acts on information from across the country to monitor travellers' movements. The numbers of people on known sites are logged and their names, activities and vehicle details are kept on computer, all in an attempt to predict where travellers might next try to gather together.
If they start to get desperate, then they may try the unexpected.
Early July, more than a week after Glastonbury has ended, Scuddy and Irene are preparing to move on.
There we go. You never know really what's going to happen. It's usually all right. Most of the places we go, we know we've been there before and it's always all right. Most of those are really full at the moment though, so we've got to go somewhere new. So where are you going today?
To a farm.
To a derelict farm, owned by the council. Just to park in the yard for a while. How did you find that?
Quite a lot of the time we just go out, maybe in a car and have a look around. There's, you know, when you're out just doing your usual business, it sort of becomes sort of instinctive just to look out for unused pieces of land.
I did actually go to Stonehenge years ago and saw people living in buses and thought, just make really nice homes. Houses are so square and cold, and I just think my children should get a chance to live on the countryside while they're young, because it might not all be here when they're older. We don't know. We don't know what way it's going, do we?
It's just about, you know, doing what you want to do and being who you really are. I mean, that's a lot of the reason that we do travel, because it's the only way that we can live the lifestyle that we want to in this country. I mean, you can't live in the country, really, unless you've got money. I mean, it'd be so easy for every parish to have a plot where you could fit a couple of vehicles, you know, and maybe have a couple of vehicles there once a year for a few months. If every parish had that, then there wouldn't be a problem.
There wouldn't be a problem.
Almost. Not quite. Must be the other one a bit flat as well.
There's one or two things in here which are responses from other organisations to the caravan proposed repeal.
By July, Steve's group has about 30 members, and they're starting to plan what steps they should take. Their biggest worry is where in the future it'll be legal for their children to stay. Along with increased police powers, the government is proposing to reform the Caravan Act. This obliges local authorities to provide sites for gypsies and arguably new age travellers. So councils often don't evict travellers because they might only have to relocate them, and there aren't enough official sites. Now the government is proposing to get rid of the duty to provide sites. The idea is that travellers and gypsies should either camp on the sites which exist or buy land and apply for planning permission.
And I think less than half of them have come up with sites for gypsies. And if they haven't come up with the sites over the last 20-odd years, I don't really see how the sites are suddenly going to appear. Are they going to give them planning permission?
Well, they haven't been, have they?
They haven't been. No.
I mean, well, this is why we're here, isn't it? And this is why all these other organisations are around, in order to pressure this to happen.
It was just before 8 o'clock this morning that council officials arrived to start work on the transit site. But they were spotted by the village's own security watch. The church bell alarm signal went out. Within 10 minutes, nearly 50 villagers were there.
Fear is of the unknown. New Age travellers are the unknown. They come in large groups, they come every year, and everywhere they go, they cause trouble.
What did you want, Pete?
No, they cut out some pounds.
Did
you bring the sweeteners?
No, I didn't bring the sweeteners.
Oh.
In Middlezoy, 9 miles from Glastonbury, Somerset County Council is trying to build a transit site as part of its obligations under the 1968 Caravan Act. It's a village which already has a gypsy site, and in any case the villagers argue that as the council's duty to provide the site is about to be abolished, they shouldn't bother. Technically, the new site is for gypsies, but the villagers are worried that it'll be filled with New Age travellers, so they're keeping a 24-hour watch and preventing work from beginning.
Our quality of life's going to be taken away. I think in a moment of crisis people pull together, and this is what this is for this village, a moment of crisis. My children at the moment are allowed to go down to the local shop, they're allowed to go out and they're allowed to ride their bikes around with their friends. And I'm afraid if these people come and stay at that camp there, that freedom would be taken away because I wouldn't feel safe with them doing it.
In this country, we don't have restrictions on how we should dress or what we should believe in. And I think there's a lot of people who enjoy hating something, especially something that doesn't actually impinge on them tremendously. They haven't actually got one in their family, so they can't hate all men or whatever it is, they hate travellers.
I wonder if it'll happen next year.
I think so, yeah.
Hope so.
And the expressions they've got, and you can see real hate in their eyes, and you just think, oh my God, you know, am I really that bad, you know? I don't think they are at all.
I don't really understand why they hate us so much. Well, I don't understand why the government hate us so much, because we're not really a threat to them, I don't think.
Quite useful to them, surely.
Don't claim housing benefit, that must save them quite a lot of money.
The fear element is not just I'm frightened of a load of New Age travellers. The fear is also what happens when the people who don't like them meet them and the consequences of that. Maybe people in hospital, maybe even worse, maybe a death, one of them, one of ours. That is fear. Who wants to always live with the assumption that any day of the week, anywhere, in your local area, there could be a fight?
These are going to be our new neighbours.
The vacant farm belongs to Somerset County Council. By moving onto it without permission, Scuddy and Irene are trespassing. But unless they cause damage or have more than 12 vehicles, their trespass is a civil offence only. It'll take months in court to move them off. But if the reforms go through, if they don't leave as soon as they're asked to, they'll have committed a crime and could face prison.
Wow. It's nice to be on a bit of hard ground. And they get
What a beautiful old house.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
It's like council.
Yeah,
really?
Council.
Wow. Yeah, not one of those falling on my head.
How long it'll take?
Is the water on?
Don't know.
Irene.
Check the tap. Now, Leon, don't go in the house, all right? Nobody goes in the house at all.
Okay.
A rule.
An outside toilet.
Really?
Yeah, a toilet. Brilliant. Looks in quite good nick as well.
Well, yeah, baby.
No, come on out. Come on out. We'll clean it.
Ouch! Flipping it. Don't bet headbutt me into the
Nice lawn.
Night-night, see you next year. See you next year or 2 years or something.
Put your tents off and move into the orchard then.
Thank you very much for coming once again. As you now realise, we've just
August in Middlezoy.
Enter into the 8th week. And before we go on with this particular meeting tonight, I'd just like to quickly go over what happened during this week. On Monday, a number of you received this document here, which was the statement of intent from Mr. Clark, the head of
Somerset County Council remains determined to build the site, but still can't get onto the land peacefully. So they've drawn up a plan to persuade the villagers that the site will be restricted to gypsies only. The villagers are unconvinced.
Okay, so keep up the good work, but we really do need all the effort, not only on meetings like tonight, but we need it all the way through the campaign. Because in the death, the only thing that is going to stop them is you people. It's your future, it's the future of your kids in this village and in Western Zoyland and Overy, and it's up to you, because nobody else is going to do it for you, it's up to you to get up there and stop the rot before they get on there. Thank you.
At a meeting last night in Middlezoy, over 200 villagers voted unanimously to reject Somerset County Council's plan.
Well, because I came here, I retired to this little village for a bit of peace and quiet. And what peace and quiet will I get if there's a transit site there? None at all.
Have you been up on the picket line?
Most days.
How far are you prepared to go?
To be arrested.
And what then?
We'll keep going. As soon as they release me, I'll go back and I'll be arrested again.
I don't think they've thought about them as being human beings. They have become New Age travellers or New Age vermin, as was said. And they aren't humans. And it's very easy, if people aren't human, to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter what happens to them, let them move on somewhere else.
Well, he usually lets me know roughly where he's going. He keeps in touch pretty well. That was a big worry, that in fact that he would kind of disappear out from one's life. And you know, I'm glad that things have worked out this way. But it's so easy, I think, for children who leave home in this way, say children, but people who leave their families, to lose touch completely. And I think it causes families a lot of worry.
I wouldn't mind the occasional postcard, but no. I feel that provided he's managing to keep afloat, I'm quite happy about him. If he were only happy himself, that's all that really matters. But I do fear that he isn't, because it's not an easy life, really. And I just don't know what will happen to him in the future.
Who am I with Wednesday night?
You keep open short and Andrew's story up to now, but I'd probably try and get somebody else to do
That's all right. Lovely, good, thank you.
Wednesday as well.
Taking that aside, not everything's lost. We sent a letter today to the Secretary of State, and we faxed another letter to the Department of Environment in London, proposing what we consider to be a suitable site for these people.
I see what they do. I come from Glastonbury, and I see what they do. They don't care about anything. They abuse anybody. They're just a waste of space.
And you want to ask yourself, actually, why Roger Evis, the guy that runs Pilton Festival, virtually banned them from the festival this year. And in his own words, it was because they caused too much trouble.
The use of High Pass between Boroughbridge and East Lynn, where they put the travellers 2 years running, the mess that they caused in just a matter of days while the police were holding them in one position. It took council workmen days to clean it up afterwards.
I really don't believe it. We don't want it in our backyard. Not that at all. I don't think it should be in any village.
I think that it's terribly short-sighted for people to turn their back on something without checking out what it's about. And work yourself up into a little fever of really not very nice. And if they sat down and thought about it a little on their own and decided how they would feel if it was their child who was involved, they might feel differently.
How are you then, eh?
By August, Scuddy and Irene have been joined by about half a dozen other families.
Here we are again.
Hello. Right. Oh wow, look at this. Just what we needed.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
You've got a cat?
You've got a spark prize thing.
You haven't got a cat. I've got a cat.
Could you check that you haven't got two now? Yeah. Please, because she was just totally vanished.
Wow. That is amazing, that is.
Oh, what is that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Oh, well done. Brilliant.
They've been on the site about a month and they've already had a visit and a letter from a gypsy liaison officer.
Yeah. She's over there, is she? Yeah. Okay.
Well, he said on the letter that we have not been granted permission to stay here, nor will we be granted permission to stay here. And
well, that's from the council, was it?
Yeah, if we're not gone by today, then he's going to start legal proceedings. So that's why we're going to go see the solicitor on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of angles we can go at from. We can go at from the sort of they failed to provide sites under the 68 Act.
Well, they can't. I mean, under Section 39, they're not supposed to evict you if there isn't a site
to go to.
To go to, can they?
Yeah, there is actually a site around here that we could go to, which is, I think, it's a bit of council wasteland, but it's pretty honourable, really. I mean, it's just a bit of.
So you think you've probably got 6 weeks or so?
6 weeks if we don't do anything.
Right.
Or if we do a little bit.
Yeah.
But if we really go for it and get a judicial review, we could get a winner. But the thing is, they won't give you a judicial review. Well, they won't grant you legal aid for a judicial review unless they think there's a reasonable possibility that you're going to win. And it's obvious we won't win because they won't let us stay because they don't do it.
Yeah.
It goes all the way up the system, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. I'm very concerned about it. I mean, the worst case situation is that they lose their home. They're made homeless, and there won't be accommodation available for them. They'll end up in bed and breakfast with all the attendant stresses which will happen, and maybe the worst case situation is that the children end up in care.
Standing out on a picket line, thinking still there comes a time when the bailiffs try to move us on. Standing out on a picket line, thinking still there comes a time when the bailiffs try to move.
In Middlezoy, the protest carries on, despite a recent High Court ruling that such sites are for gypsies only. Although both the increased police powers and the reform of the Caravan Act are planned for this parliamentary session, neither are being treated as urgent. Scuddy and Irene wanted to stay at the farm, but the council didn't reply to their request to rent it. Instead, as a result of a judicial review, they have been given gypsy status and offered a place at an official site. Steve Staines's group will continue to campaign against the proposed laws, but how would you feel if your child was a traveller, or if you were a villager in Middlezoy? That's the subject of this week's Voices of the West on your BBC local radio station. Give me a ring. The number is 0345 66 55 55. BBC 2.